Hello everyone, this is the HeliFar x140 Pro. Featuring an F4 flight controller with an OSD, a 48-channel VTX, power switchable up to 25 milliwatts, 100 milliwatts, and 200 milliwatts via tramp, nondescript 600 TV line micro CCD camera, 32-bit 25-amp 4-in-1 ESC, SkyStars branded 1408 3800 kV motors, a buzzer and 2 LEDs, a holder for your SMA connector, arms are over 4mm thick, bottom plate's 2mm thick, top plate's 2mm thick too, the flight stack is soft mounted, I'm getting 144mm motor to motor. It's a Stretch X. It weighs 162 grams. It comes with 2 sets of racecraft looking props, but they're not. It really came to life with the Gemfan Flash 3052 props. It also comes with extra heat shrink and zip ties, and the obligatory FR Sky manual. I broke the battery strap. So on paper, this one looked pretty good, but unfortunately, I was a little bit disappointed in the performance, and I think it was largely due to these props. These are racecraft-looking props, but they are not branded anyway. And it came with the tune, and that's what you see on screen now. But I went ahead and spent some time trying to retune it because I felt with these props that I was kind of sliding into turns. That I couldn't get that sharp maneuver, and I couldn't get the quad to change directions very well. So I spent some time on the retune, and if you get yours, you can use these retune PIDs on there. It'll be a little bit better, but you know, props are temporary. I would suggest, you know, if you're getting this quad, go ahead and just pick up some Jim Fan Flash. The 3052s is what I've got on here, and I thought that really livened it up. It livened it up when cornering. It livened it up when hitting the throttle hard and doing a punch out and getting up high. It really helped me fly the way I wanted to fly. And the motors, the 1408s, I was a little bit concerned that I was getting into a stator size that was going to drain the batteries very quick, and I would end up with another flight time a little less than 2 minutes. But fortunately, I flew with the China hobby line, the Mini Stars. These are the new hotness, so look for the orange labels on your batteries if you're getting China hobby lines. And yes, I am a sponsored pilot, so this is what I'm flying most of the time. This yielded that flight that was almost 3 minutes, and that's really, really rare for me to get a 3-minute flight. Especially out of a 3-inch. So these batteries are a little bit bigger. I think they are slightly underrated, but they perform well. So if you're looking for longer flight time, I can definitely recommend getting this particular battery. Is what I was flying in the video. The quad has a lot of features that I think many of us are looking for, and it's got one that we don't typically see in this category, and that one is the ability to mount a traditional antenna. So that's going to increase its weight a little bit. We've got this extra connector. We've got some metal down here to mount that connector, and then we've also got an antenna. So that might add 10 grams or more depending upon the antenna used. And yes, I did use the stock antenna that does come with it in my flight video, and I thought the reception was pretty good. I use the LaForge module. You'll see that listed down below in the stuff I use. That's the version 4 LaForge module. I haven't even updated it to 4.1 yet. I'm still using it on the stock firmware. I do wish it had just come with the XT30 on the back. But unfortunately, it did come with a JST, and I swapped it out. Instead of taking everything apart and putting the included battery lead and XT30 on the back, I went ahead and just pulled the XT60 off. I said JST earlier, but I meant it had an XT60 on the back, and I swapped it out for the XT30. But anyways, so instead of taking this off and disassembling all this in order to get in there, I went ahead and just took the end off and resoldered on one of my own ends. That's why you saw it in the quick roll where I still had the extra lead in the bag, as I used one out of my bin. You can see pretty much the only damage I had in my flights is I apparently busted off one of my zip ties. So my wires are up here, so they could technically get caught in the prop. But that did not occur. It must have happened one of my later flights that I had. Typically, if you're not familiar with the channel, I fly these things quite a bit. It's generally why I'm not first to review things, is because I take my time. I like to fly. Flying is kind of the primary reason why I make videos. I don't make videos because it's lucrative or anything like that. I want to make sure that you guys get a quality review, and so when you get yours, provided the manufacturer hasn't changed any of the parts, which can happen, I'm not saying it's going to on this one, but we've seen it happen in the past, that you'll have a good experience, because I've spent plenty of time flying this. I've put many batteries through it. You know, most of the time I have 25 to 40 flights on some machines, depending upon the weather and the nature of the vehicle. I may have as many 50 plus flights on vehicles before I sit down and do my review as I am tonight. You can see it comes with the FrSky XM Plus, so we have 2 antennas. I mounted mine. Initially it had 2 zip ties coming out the top. I went ahead and changed that. I wrapped one around the vertical post right here and ran it off the back, added a little bit of heat shrink to it to make sure it stays out of harm's way of the props, and another one vertically. For those that do fly at longer range, I believe that is recommended to have your antennas for your diversity at 90 degrees, and that's what we have in this particular case. Something that we oftentimes see when we have props or prop nuts that have the plastic inside to Loctite them down is that they're very, very difficult. I didn't find these to be that difficult. That was actually a pleasant surprise of mine, because oftentimes I have to use one of those rubber jar mats that you use to open your jars with to hold the motor to get enough pressure to turn it. And also, I'll draw your attention to the motor stems. They've been hollowed out, but they seem to be reinforced. This is not popo. It doesn't release the prop, of course. So this silver that you see inside the blue is apparently another material that presumably goes to harden the stem. I can't say that's true or not, whether it actually does any good, but that seems to be the design. As far as camera angle, I fly at about 45 degrees because of that racing style that I have, and you could see a little bit of the top plate in that view, but not bad really. They've done a nice design of making sure this is wide enough to where you don't get a lot of that, but you're not going to get much more camera tilt than that. I might get another few degrees, but not a lot. You can see as you tilt the camera up, you're going to start running into the flight stack. And as I mentioned in the quick roll, we have soft mounting down here at the bottom, and we have a little ring up here at the top, so the whole stack is kind of soft mounted together. That will minimize the soft mounting usability because it's the whole stack, but it does provide us with something. As for the battery strap that I broke that putting on a battery of all things. That wasn't even in flight, so you might want to make sure you got a spare battery strap on hand as well. The smart audio, so it goes from pit mode all the way up to 200 milliwatts, and you can do that right from the OSD, as you see on the screen there. And that's great, especially if you fly with friends, or if you're looking to go into racing, or if you just want to run do some fun racing with some friends that you don't have bleed over. Maybe you need to reduce to 25 milliwatt, or maybe you can all run 100 milliwatt. You can change your channels right there from within that, and so you don't have to fuss with button presses and things of that nature. So, in my opinion, that's a nice added bonus to the quad's value as well. This machine looks a lot like other products that we've had out. There's some slight design differences. We've seen this in other X140 and 145 models, and they also came with a giant XT30 on the back end too. But a couple things I'll draw your attention to is we have replaceable arms in this particular case. We only have the one plate, so some of the pressure is going to be on the standoffs and the top plate when it comes to that flexibility, and the carbon is good and stiff. I didn't have any troubles with pid tuning, and the tune that I worked up to this, I did turn PT1 on, and I turned off the first 2-notch filters. I wasn't comfortable turning the D-term notch filter off because it's been in the mid to upper 90s here. The motors did get quite warm. They weren't so warm I couldn't keep my fingers on them still, but they were pretty warm. Of course, you know, as I said, the weather's been nice and warm too, so that may have played a role. If you live in a cooler area, you might be able to turn off the D-term notch filters using the PIDs that I've shown you, but I would always encourage you to do your own PID tuning. You may find that mine is too twitchy for your liking, or maybe even too loose, who knows. One demerit that I have to give them is I do not like it when they use a Phillips screw to mount the cameras. I always want a hex. I always feel I can get those in there. I just feel like hex works better. As far as the other mounting, I should mention, I am glad that they used M3 hardware rather than going to M2 or 2.5, because that will give us some extra structural rigidity and durability. So hopefully our arms don't break, but if they do, it should be relatively painless. In order to swap them out, should you need to, we just have 2 screws on each arm, and then we probably just have to slide those out and slide it back in. Put the screws back in and one nut and maybe a zip tie, and off we go. And for those of you that weren't around when we talked about it, if you're not a fan of using zip ties, this is the tape that I would kind of hunting for, and I've used this on 2 other machines now. This is kind of a cloth tape that they use in automobiles, and they wrap some of the wires and hoses in the engine compartment, I believe, with this, or maybe along the door panels or something of that nature. But it cuts pretty well. It has good adherence. It's not real thick, so it surely can't weigh too much, but this was the one I think I was looking for. This is Tessa branded. I picked this up off of Amazon. I'm sure you could probably find it on eBay if you want to go hunting for a bargain. There may be various other places. Maybe a local hardware store has this too, but if you're looking for some of this, I'll link it down below. I suggest this stuff over everything else that I've tried. This is what I think we've been seeing on other quads ready to flies that I was kind of hunting for, so I wouldn't have to use zip ties. I will say one difficulty that I had after I broke that battery strap was getting a new battery strap in there. I had to loosen everything up in order to get this Race Day Quads battery strap through there. And I don't think I mentioned during the quick roll, it does come with a gummy pad down here as well, so you have a little bit of something to stick to your battery. I oftentimes use dual lock, as you see here on this battery. Hopefully you can see that. I didn't in this particular case, but oftentimes I do use that as well, and I put it right on top of that battery pad. And something you may or may not be aware of with these 32-bit ESCs is they have the abilities to load custom tones. So you know that beep when you plug in your battery, how it kind of activates and lets you know that everything's set to go. You can actually, I've heard some, I think it's theme music and things of that nature. So at the very least, you could do something fun with the ESC. As far as a difference between 32-bit ESCs and ESCs we've been flying, I couldn't tell a difference. There may be a difference, but at least I don't have the skills to either feel it or draw it out. At the very least, you're not looking at this and going, well, I wonder what it would be like with 32-bit ESCs. It's already got them, so that's a bonus. But I think it's a solid model. I think if you're looking for a 3-inch, you can't go wrong with this. It's not necessarily going to be the highest of performers because it is a little bit heavier than some, but I think with that weight comes a little bit of durability. Again, we have the M3 hardware and we have some super thick arms. So if you're not an experienced flyer, super thick arms is good because when you crash, they're less likely to break. And we have the possibility that these motor stems will be less likely to get bent or broken because they've been reinforced, but I don't know what that material is, and I don't know how well it's been tested as to increasing that durability. It's currently on sale. The price as I speak tonight is $149.99. They have got a promo going on for a few more days. I think it's 10 to 12 more days, and you can find this at that price. It's very likely to go up. Looks like it's 17% off now. So you may want to click that link down below to see what the price currently stands at when you're looking at this video. So, what do you think? Are you looking at 3-inchers? Do you think this is a good one? Do you think this is a bad one? Do you like the fact that you can mount a regular SMA and you're willing to take that weight? What are your pros and cons about this particular machine? What are you looking for? Are you looking for a 2-inch, a 2.5-inch? Are you looking at a 5, or just want a lighter 3-inch? What do you think about the height of the standoffs? I just want to start throwing some questions back to you guys. I've flown so many micros that I kind of feel like I'm losing track of what we should be looking at. I know what I'm kind of looking for, but what are you guys looking for? So leave your thoughts on this model and what you're looking for in other models down in the comment section below, and we'll see if we can't get something like that on the channel, whether it's from a vendor or we can build something up. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please leave those in the section down below. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.